I remember driving up to this gig with David Feldman, one of my best friends, who now writes for the Dennis Miller Show, and Jose Simon, our host and MC, in the back seat. We had to fill out these long forms to be worthy to go into the prison, I think, and then we're patted down and you go through the metal detectors. And I remember being led through these long corridors, and I had the creepiest feeling. The closest thing I can associate this with, remember when you were in, say, the 3rd grade and you went to your school at night for a science fair or something? Just walking your hallway at night. It was that weird, eerie feeling. And eventually we're led into this gymnasium, exactly like your high school gym, with the folded up basketball hoops and rows of bleachers on either side. 4 sets of bleachers pulled out, a little stage in front of it with a microphone and a stand, and 400 pissed off guys in blue denim sitting there waiting. And as soon as they saw us and we're at the far end of the hall, they started catcalling and whistling, yelling, "Bend over, woo, fresh meat!" Apparently it was mating season at prison. And my heart is pounding, and we're led into this little room, and this pompous guard starts laying down all of the prison rules. You're not to mention homosexuality within the prison community. You're not to mention drug usage within the prison community. You're not to mention race or racial tension within this facility. We have had riots at this prison. Then he got very serious and said, if any inmate crosses the yellow line in front of the stage, immediately run for the double doors in the back of the room. But don't worry, we got snipers in the perch. Ah, well, suddenly I'm at ease. What he's referring to, of course, guards with guns up in these towers. And I don't know about you, but nothing says Christmas to me more than guards with guns. We also weren't supposed to mention the guards or their guns. We were supposed to mention nothing to do with this facility. And he mentioned this 3 times, especially not K-Block. Like I might have heard of that before, right? This is where they kept their incorrigibles. I guess this is the cream of the crop out here at the show. This nightmare gig begins with them announcing the host and MC, Jose Simon. Jose goes out. He's got the mic. I cannot over-exaggerate the horribleness of this situation. It is 400 guys bent on the destruction of the person on stage, just hurling obscenities. And, oh, poor Jose, he's trying. The only people in the room laughing are Feldman and I watching from the side. Nothing funnier than a comic eating it on stage to another comic. It's one of these life situations, hopefully you can relate to this. I'm being paid, what is it, $500 for this gig. I would have gladly said, here's your $500 back and 2,000 more. Please don't make me do this. In 2 hours, I can be in my wife's arms, please. Jose comes off drenched in sweat. Feldman goes out, tries to do political material. These guys don't vote. They've been in prison their whole lives. I have never laughed harder in my life than I did watching Feldman try to do his act that night. He would tell a joke, get no laughs, and then they started pelting him with these crumpled milk cartons that they had. He was just dodging like this. Occasionally he'd glance at me. I'm laughing so hard that he'd start laughing, you know, inflaming the inmates. They'd start pelting him with, it was an ugly cycle. Feldman comes off, won't even look at me, just looking down, shaking his head. They announce my name. I drift toward the stage in a surreal haze. I have to be out there for 45 minutes. The only other event in my life to which I can relate this is when I was in high school, sliding on the ice, I broke out these 2 front teeth. So I had to go in for a root canal. And Dr. Ott gave me a shot in the roof of my mouth, the pain of which was unbelievable. The first thing he did was take this Q-tip and put it in there and kind of, ooh, that helped. Ooh, yeah. It was like a pain enhancer, or maybe a target he drew. I don't know what it was. Before the shot, the nurse had to excuse herself. She couldn't even be there. And all my dentist has ever said is, this isn't going to hurt, and it's always hurt. And this time he said, this is going to hurt, so I didn't know what to expect. And he holds me down, and he sticks this needle in, and he does a weird thing where he bends it like this, and a bone pops out of the top of my mouth. A little bone is sticking out of my mouth. And he gives me the shot, and you've whacked your funny bone right there. I had the exact whacking the funny bone sensation in both funny bones, just while these electrical shocks shot through the ends of my feet. But this isn't the event I'm alluding to here. Oh, this came about, what, 3 weeks later when I had to go back for the same shot knowing what was coming. That's the way I felt as I took this stage. And I remember taking the mic out of the stand, moving the stand over, this vitriolic bile was being spewed at me. And I tried to swallow and I couldn't. I had no spit, my heart is pounding, and I know if I try to do my act, like Feldman, they will eat me alive, and I don't know what to do. And I believe they mistook my fear for some sort of professionalism, and they started to get quiet. And in about a minute, the whole room was silent. So I lifted the mic and I said, I just got back from K Block, and boy, is my ass sore. Ah! Ah! The biggest laugh in the history of comedy, I believe. I mean, it knocked me back like a laser blast, I felt. And they kept laughing and laughing and laughing for like a minute. And while they were laughing, I noticed for the first time that every single man in these sets of bleachers was black, without exception. And every single man over here was white, without exception. So I look at this one white guy and I go, excuse me, sir, if your dick was big enough, could you sit with the black guys? Ah! The black guys are high-fiving, they're crying. I'm a god in the slammer all of a sudden. And I notice a black guy in the front row, hair in curlers. So I walk over. Where are you going tomorrow that you need to look better than tonight, the big social event of your entire year? Well, from that point on, I am solid gold. Everything is killing. You know, at one point I said, you know, I'm sorry my voice is a little hoarse tonight. You know, before the show I vomited up a baggie of heroin for a friend here. I started talking about how my third dad had been in prison for armed robbery. Guy in the back yells, yeah, I knew him. I go, my God, it's you. Your face is tattooed on his ass. At one point, I'm actually taunting the inmates. I got off the stage, right behind that yellow line, pulled out a $20 bill and said, come get it, pussies. I ended the night, appropriately enough, with a Christmas sing-along. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Only the rapists now. Come on, join in. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Child molesters, I can't hear you. Let's go, come on. Well,